Okay, so this is my interview with Maung Nyi, often known as David, who was born in Myanmar in 15th April 1936. So, David, I'd be grateful if you could tell me a little bit about your early life in Kyaukse, if that's the right pronunciation.
Kyaukse.
Kyaukse, okay. Oh, of course, KY, yeah.
Yes.
So your mother worked in the markets?
Yes, she was a bazaar seller in the market, Kyaukse market.
And your father?
My father was a revenue surveyor.
What did your father do?
He was a revenue surveyor of the land records department. That is, collecting taxes, land taxes from farmers, making records, making maps.
And does that mean that he had secondary education or tertiary education?
He has secondary education only.
Right, okay. And you have a sister, an elder brother, and a young sister. Is that right? So there are.
This is sister, and Pa was my brother.
Right.
I was the third of the family, and I had a little sister.
And can you tell me anything about what it was like as a young child in your village?
Well, I was born in 1936, as you already know, and about 2 years, I had to go into the monastery with the yellow robe because my father wanted to see a young little novice. I spent there about a week or so, then came out. That was before my schooling. I didn't learn anything. But when the war broke out, Second World War broke out, it was my first year in school. Didn't finish. And we had to run away from the town. Well, out there is a Turkish town, about 30 miles from Mandalay, south of Mandalay. It has primary schools and secondary schools, no college. So when we were refugees from the town, because the town was going to be bombed, and we were in several villages running around. And during the Japanese occupation, my father was working in Singai. Singai, that is a township in Kyaukse district. That is nearer to Mandalay. He was working there as a revenue surveyor again during the Japanese occupation. But there were no regular schools during the Japanese time. So I didn't have much education to speak about, but I was sent to a monastic school where I learned some learning in reading and writing in our Burmese language and some rudimentary arithmetic. That was for 3 years there, or more than 3 years. And after the war, I was we returned to Kyaukse, and in our ward, we had a school, a primary school. I was sent there. I finished the primary school after 3 years attending and joined the high school, a little further away from my ward. And I finished my 7th standard with the scholarship award for high school, which was called High School Scholarship Award. So I finished my secondary schooling in 1954, after which I joined Mandalay University College, where I attended 2 years of intermediate course studying mathematics, physics, and chemistry, along with more Burmese and more English. After finishing my 2 years in Mandalay, I went to Yangon to join the Faculty of Engineering of the University of Rangoon, first year there. And during that first year I was attending, I was offered a scholarship under the Colombo plan, first to go to Canada, but then it was scrapped on account of the Suez Canal crisis. But then, fortunately, I was also, along with Nguyen Thay, I was also offered another scholarship to study in New Zealand, to study mining engineering. So Nguyen Thay and I went to New Zealand in 1957, somewhere around February, I think. And there we studied mining engineering at the Otago School of Mines in the University of Otago in Dunedin, the South Island.
Very cold for a Burmese boy.
Yeah, it was autumn when we arrived there, still cold. We had to get some heavy, overcoat.
Yeah.
In Auckland. And we traveled down by train, and then by crossing the bay in the night by the boat called, I think, Maori. It was called Maori, I think. Yeah. So I think it was Cook Strait, I think, the sea was. It took whole night to cross that little strait.
Really?
Then we traveled down by train to Dunedin. I was settled down in Carrington Hall. Maung Nyi was in Knox College, I think. Yes, Knox College. So we went to attend the university there together, and we had to undergo some tests for eligibility to attend the university. We did make some marks, but then we had to repeat our intermediate class for 1 year. After that only we attended the professional classes. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I did. And was it, did you find it welcoming? Did you enjoy your time there?
Yeah. We were welcome at Carrington Hall. There were a mix of international students there. The Kiwis, we call them the New Zealanders, Kiwis. The Kiwis were good people. They were, very nice. And they made us feel home there, especially the warden of the hall by the name of Luke Jenkins. He was a reverend of the Presbyterian Church. And the matron was also like a mother to me. I was always with them on the holidays to their, holiday cottage, helping them out and taking tea and dinner there.
Were you the only Burmese? How many Burmese were there when you were studying?
In Carrington Hall, there were only two.
Right.
Myself one. There was another Burmese guy who came with us also, a dentist who studied dentistry. So there are only two of us in Carrington Hall. But actually, we came together, all seven, I think 7 years, Maung Nyi included. And 3 for mining engineering, 2 for dentistry. No, 3 for dentistry and 2 for geology. So altogether 7.
And did you go home at all during the time you were there, or did you stay there for?
After the second year, our professor, Dr. Gordon Williams, arranged for us to work for our holiday at Bawdwin Mine, where myself and Maung Nyi went and worked there during our holidays in Burma after our second year. Did you get that?
Yes. But virtually no, the only contact with your parents was by writing letters. Is that correct?
That's right, sir. That's right. We only wrote letters. There was no other connection.
Yeah. And
no telephone, no radio?
No radio, okay. And you did have some experience, I think, in Australia as well?
Yes, that was after my third year at Mount Isa mines. Mount Isa, lead, zinc, and copper mine. It's
Right.
a big mine there. It has an open pit as well as an underground mine. The open pit was worked out. We were in underground mine.
And so then you were required to return, what, in 1962?
Beg your pardon?
You were required to, you went back to Burma
Yeah,
in 1962.
Before we came over to New Zealand, we had to sign a contract with the government. Myself with the Department of Mines, we had to sign agreeing that we should work with them on our return.
For how long? Was it 10 years or 5 years?
5 years. 5 years. 5-year
5
contract.
years. And had the 1962 coup happened by the time you returned or not?
Yes. I arrived back after finishing my Bachelor of Engineering course. I returned to Burma and reported to the Ministry of Mines, Department of Mines. The Director General, I reported to him, and he was glad to see me, but he couldn't give me a job right away because there was no post creation yet. It was only in the process. See, that was in 1962 March or February rather. Then I kind of requested him to release me so that I could go and work at Bawdwin, which I was familiar with. I was familiar with the Bawdwin mine. I wanted to work there, where I think the pay and facilities were very good. So I requested to him that I should be released and let me work there. Well, he insisted I should wait, but also I insisted. So at last, he agreed with me and recommended me for the job. So I had to undergo some on-site interview at the mine before I was engaged, and I passed it, and they agreed me to have it on a 4-year contract. So I started my work at Bawdwin in June 1962. You see, as you question me about the coup happened on 2nd of March 1962. That was when that night I was traveling from Yangon to Kyaukse. And I only heard about it when I got at Kyaukse. I didn't know it was there. The coup was already taken place. So I was surprised and I wasn't very happy because I was kind of, had some idea of freedom and democracy in New Zealand, and also with what we had in Burma before the coup from 1948 to 1962. We were happy with our democracy, and I was very happy to be in New Zealand to observe and feel the taste of democracy. So when this 1962 coup occurred, I wasn't very happy. And I said so to my friends, some of whom are not like me. Some of them, they said, oh, this is good. The democracy government doesn't work well. And so something like that. But then I didn't argue with them. And during that time, I had my uncle who had some cancer of the throat. So I had to look after him before I joined the Burma Corporation at Bawdwin. I had to look after him, but then he died. So I only left Kyaukse after he died. And I was late for 3 months or so, joining my job at Bawdwin. So I worked there.
But did the coup have any effect on your day-to-day work back in the 60s or not?
Well, yes, I will get to that. At Bawdwin, when we worked there, it was still a joint venture company, government 51%, and Burma Corporation or Burma Mines Limited of London, 49%, the joint venture corporation. The operators were British. So we worked under them, and they were very good people. They were very much interested in their work, and we learned much from them. As soon as I started working at Bawdwin, well, first thing I must tell you is that I started as an assistant engineer, having duties of mine surveying, shipbuilding, and acting mine foreman in rotation. So when I was working at the survey office, I came to know several things about the old reserves and things like that. At the same time as I arrived there, there was a team of UN specialists under the UN Development Program. They were studying the old reserves that is workable. So the way I understand it is that the original old reserves of Burma Mines of Burma Corporation Limited was 11 million tons at the beginning, or as they worked out totally before the war. But they extracted about over 9 million tons before the war. So there were only about 2 million tons left after the war, the way they mined at a certain rate. But when in 1962, when I joined, we were mining some ore outside of the old reserve area because the original old reserves wasn't enough to support the expenses of the mine, so which was counted as old reserves of outside. And the UN team looked into that and they surveyed and estimated the ore remaining to be mined profitably. So it becomes about 5 million tons of ore at reduced levels, like 7% lead, 4% zinc, or 6 ounces per ton of ore, which is still very good at the time. Even said it was high rate, but according in terms of Bawdwin standard, it was low grade ore. Anyway, as I worked up the ladders, I was Mine Superintendent in 1983, I think. Yeah. So I had to struggle getting enough ore for every month or every year to support all the expenses plus some profits. So we did manage that. And Ukuwotan was the first Mine Superintendent at Bawdwin. And he was our boss, our mentor, a very good man. And he looked after us and he looked after the mine very well. And he trained us to be proficient in all the works that we had to do. So it works out that in my time, we were mining at a profit. One thing I leave out telling is that we had, besides the 5 million ton ore remaining after the UN development team project, we have about 10 million tons of open pit ore, which is our potential in the future. So we started mining open pit at Ukuwotan's time. So, and then we set up a mill, on-site mill. Originally, we had a mill at Namtu, but that Namtu mill treated our underground ore. And the mill at Bawdwin treated open pit ore. And that open pit ore had tailings which were thrown away in the river, which some very low grade ore minerals in it. You see, during our time there, I was also sent to Canada to study hydraulic filling and sandbagging methods to apply at Bawdwin. So I went there for 6 months. I returned home with the techniques. And it was already being applied, started by the UN team, UNDP team. But then we had to finish it right through. So in my time, when I was a mine superintendent, I was successful in converting all the upper levels of the mine into sand filling or hydraulic filling. This hydraulic filling is a lower cost method and safe. And what I think I will need to tell you here is, in answer of your question, we had problems when New Win government took over the mine in 1965. The British mine superintendent left. Also, all those upper level people in Namtu. So the trouble was that when they nationalized the mine, they also nationalized the people. You see, we were all, the staff or the officers were put to a test by reducing our pay. My pay was reduced by 30%.
Wow.
Getting out my cost of living allowance and personal allowance. And myself suffered both because he had a higher pay. And what made it wrong was it affected the miners. You see, the miners were working with incentives on the idea of production bonus, which is worked out with we assign starting value to the ore they produced. And the value of that ore, the mine minus the basic pay is the numerator of the factor in working out their bonus. So when was combined with cost of a living and making the two together as basic pay, we had to work that together. So incentives for miners were almost reduced to nothing, almost so. So that was a problem, and miners left. And Ugo Vuitton had to send agents to recruit people. Only after a year or so, we succeeded in recruiting people from the central Burma area, dry zone, where people work hard at hard jobs. They were hardworking, no matter how hard. When they go to the mine, they were working hard and with and they worked better with the incentives. When that incentive was gone, many people left, and then who worked out a way to improve it, and there was a big improvement after adjustment.
Because Ukoko Tan was then the MD, is that right?
Huh?
Ukoko Tan was then the MD of Bawdwin, was the managing director of Bawdwin?
At that time, when earlier times, he was the mine superintendent, locally situated, local manager.
Right.
He was managing director only years later.
Okay. Could you live on the reduced 30% reduced income? Could you still live?
Yes, barely.
Barely.
I married to a young lady, a teacher, and she was working. So two of us together can make. We can't save much, but with no debt.
No debt.
But for the miners, it is different. You see.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't live without the bonus.
Right. And did your wife live at Bawdwin, or was she elsewhere?
she was born there.
Ah,
Her father was an electrician, a foreman, when I married her.
okay. You met her in Bawdwin.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I met her. Well, she wasn't at Bawdwin. She was working at Mine.
Okay.
I met her on her holidays. So we got married after a couple of years.
Okay. So then
So
what happened in 1986?
1990,
1986. Was that when you?
1986. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I was Mine Superintendent at Bawdwin for 4 years, after which I was offered promotion and transferred to Monya copper mine. Who then came and informed me about that. I was a reluctant candidate, as I told you before. I refused. I don't go, I told him. But he said, why not? I told him my private feelings, not on my private account, but the way I view the mine. So he said, no, you got to go, because we thought you are a suitable man. And the decision to appoint you there was made higher up. So what did he do for me? I had to listen to him. He was my old boss and mentor. He was a managing director then, see?
I don't know if you know, but I interviewed Ukoko Tan a couple of years ago before, of course, he passed away recently. He's a wonderful man, a wonderful man.
Yeah. So I had no option but to accept his offer.
And the reason was that you thought the copper mine was a mess. Is that right?
Yeah. I didn't want to say that, but it was. It hadn't been operating actually. It was only, developing. While they are developing, I have had many things that was in my favor. I thought I might be in trouble working there, you see. So that's the reason why I refused. But then he said, that is the reason why I was put there. What do I say? Why should I say? That was the reason why I was sent there. I had to, to manage it.
Fix the mess.
Well, let me say, that is only my opinion. It's only presumptive, you see. I don't want to blame anybody or anything, but I'll tell you later what went wrong there. I'll tell you.
So where was this mine? Where was the copper mine?
It was about 100 miles from Mandalay to the west of it, across the Chinwin River.
Right, across the river, the Chinwin.
Monya, the big there. Monya was a provincial town there, a business hub. So first, I was asked to attend the acceptance celebration. Acceptance celebration means that the project was a turnkey contract project performed by a Yugoslav team on some dollar loan from the World Bank, I think. I had to attend that acceptance meeting without my signature. I wasn't party to the acceptance team. So it was accepted without my participation. Anyway, I had to assume the duty in January. That was about November 1985, I think. In January 1986, I was there at the copper mine site as general manager. On the first day I had inspected, I wasn't very surprised the way they had done the job. So cutting it short, I found all the fault there, not involving people or personalities. First, the location of the concentrator mill. It was too far from the mine, involving long distance of transportation, using a lot of rolling stock and bedding materials and wear and tear. Besides, the tailings had to be pumped up to the tailings pond, which was
Goodness gracious.
the very opposite view of our thinking. It is we have to make everything as far as possible by gravity flow, not using power.
Sure.
The mill should have been located near the mine and on higher ground, so that the tailings can be, piped to the tailing means under gravity, not pumping up. And on top of that, they have the power system that has no standby unit.
Goodness gracious.
The power system broke down every now and then, even more than a couple of times a day. So that was a real problem. I couldn't manage. I was very sorry for the mine and sorry for myself too. I couldn't manage it. And this parts also, spare parts, we had to get most of it, we had to get from Yugoslavia. And the delivery was always late. So, but then again, I must take credit. Maybe not what, but I must take credit because the team I worked with was good. They worked with me fine. We achieved about 95% of target production every year. So I was there for about 3.5 years.
So who did you report to, David?
To the managing director who was sitting in Yangon. Ukubotan was managing director then. Ukubotan was deputy minister then.
So did the generals understand what the problem was or not?
They did understand. But then the minister didn't understand. Minister, it was his pet project. You see? It was his pet project. And I don't think he likes being talked bad about it. So that might be the problem for them. But then, so the problem was that the problems were so much so that the operational ratio, what they call, the cost of production to the value of production ratio is called operational ratio, which was 3.9 to 1, almost $4 to $1 operational ratio. That's a huge loss, which I made we did make, the cost benefit analysis, to tell you fair. Then those things were beyond my management capabilities, you see. So I worked out the operational ratio and make a special report a couple of times, couple of years to the managing director, and he sent it to the minister. But he told me, the minister said he didn't know. But then I was sending my reports every month, every year. Oh. But that was the problem. See, at the top, they should know better because they were financing the mine. They had to loan huge amounts of money every year, and the debts unpaid. They know, of course, they must know. But then when I reported, the minister said, that I was told, the minister said he didn't know. There's also another thing I didn't mention, the process, the concentration process, the mineral beneficiation process, to me, was wrong because there were 3 deposits in our hands. Only one small deposit was of some grade, up to 1% copper, and it wasn't consistent at 1%. It could go down lower. And the second one was about 0.7%. And the largest one, which we worked along, was at 4%, 0.4% copper, very low. These concentrated plants cannot manage. That is the problem with the selection of the processing method. So all those things contributed to, that the operational ratio of 3.9 to 1. So
And
all in all, I am beyond management of those problems.
yes. And so I think you then say that the period you're talking about is then 1988 came, didn't it?
Yeah. But one thing I left out talking was why we lost. There was one big factor, which was foreign exchange value
Foreign exchange, yes.
of the kyat. The kyat should be about 20 to 25 kyats to $1, but then it was 5 kyats to $1.
Yeah.
That was one big factor. Another factor was that the copper prices hit lowest during that time. They were not very high.
You had an impossible job to make the mine profitable.
Impossible. So the 1988 uprising came, and all my men, almost all of them, about 80% of them went on strike, along with all people all over the country. And I couldn't manage to stop them. So I told them, well, that is your will. You go ahead if you want to, but do not do any damage to my plants, to our plants or public property. And I told also the captain of the guard, the captain of the company who guarded our project, I told him, please, I wouldn't like to see bloodshed on our premises. He was a good man. He didn't fire a shot. So cutting it short, so the uprising came to a halt in September 1988 when a new government was formed, bloc government was formed. And I was, I lost heart with my own job. I felt failed. I failed. Other thing was that, I was sympathetic with the strikers. I was sympathetic with them. So I felt failed for one reason, that I didn't join them. The second thing was my personal thing, like I couldn't manage the mine. So I was sorry and angry for having served the military. I haven't served the public in the spirit or in material. I haven't served them at all. So, I made up my decision after consultation with my family. They were not very happy though, but I was very insistent. So I left the job by taking an untimely retirement at 53.
Did you have to get permission to retire? Did they have to agree that or could you retire without approval?
Well, it was approval by the government, but they marked me. The military marked me. But when I went away from the job, from the site, my wife was there, head of the high school there. She was transferred to somewhere very far away in Kachin State,
And do you think that is because of what you did?
Her husband's folly.
Do you think that do you think she was transferred because of you?
Yeah, she was. Definitely, because she was doing very well there. Her performance almost a record performance in the whole of country. She was very good headmistress. So it wasn't for her performance. It was on account that she was transferred to a far place. But anyway, it was not planned, but then with the hope of doing something better, but found it hard to find, not to find a job. I couldn't get a passport, you see. They barred me from issue of a passport. I was at the top of the list when it came out. These people were suspended from issuing passports.
Because you...
Several places at the university too.
And is that because you were seen as sympathetic to the uprising?
No, it was because I didn't work with them. I didn't say I was sympathetic with them. I never said that. I only said that now. I haven't said that before.
No, but why were you refused a passport?
Because I didn't work with them. I kind of left them. They knew I didn't like them. By leaving them, they knew I didn't want to serve them. So without saying, I was against them. So especially, the one who made the decision was my classmate at the Ministry of Mines, Director General of Geology Department, who was working as a deputy minister to the minister then. Kokotan just a moment. No. Upotan was still the deputy managing director. He wasn't the deputy minister of mine. He was, who you were saying was director.
Right.
Upotan was managing director then. So it was that fellow who was under the minister directly, and he made a big remark that I left the job for such and such reason, and so I shouldn't be given any passport. That I found out later on, from some friends inside the passport department. In short, as you know, I didn't get the passport, and I had contacts in Australia. They were waiting for my travel documents. But they didn't get it, so I couldn't get along. So I had to lay down low and wait. About 1990, the slope come and opened up foreign investment. And some petroleum exploration companies came. And some friends helped me to get a logistics contractor's job with them in Upper Champion. So I worked with them for a couple of years or so. And then also they folded camp because they didn't find enough wire. Then Maung Nyi came, was deputy minister, and he helped me find a job with an exploration company, Singapore-based exploration company, and I worked with them for another couple of years. And then I worked several other things around helping out friends as they needed.
And your wife was all this time at Monya?
Yes, in the Kachin state. She was working there with the 4 children. I had 4 children, you see.
Yes.
All 4 daughters, and 3 were in medical school, and 1 was with her doing matriculation.
So, where did they study? Were they studying in Yangon or studying in Mandalay? Or
In Mandalay.
When did she manage to transfer?
I had a modest home built in a suburb of Yangon, outside of Yangon. And she requested the government for her transfer back to Yangon, and she was allowed to work at Kyaukse. That is another suburb of Yangon, near my new town. So they joined me in around 1993. At that time, the eldest daughter already finished her medical degree. The 2 others were still in Mandalay. And the 4th one was joining the engineering course in Mandalay. So then my wife works as principal of a high school in Kyaukse Township.
Until she retired?
No, she didn't retire until she finished her 60th year in 1997.
And where are the 4 daughters now?
Well, I'm staying with the eldest daughter in Singapore, and the 2 other daughters were in Brunei, working as medical doctors. The youngest one is in the United States, Texas, with her husband there.
Okay.
As I might have told you, I have a dream since my childhood days. A dream that I wanted to be a writer, which I was interested since my high school days. I did do some writing in Mandalay, and then also in Otago a little bit. And then back at work in Monya and Bawdwin, I did some writing, particularly on mining, popularization of the mining profession. So when all the girls were supporting themselves, we took total retirement, and I started writing. When I was with my daughter in Vancouver, I started, no. Before that, I wrote my first book in English on meditation, insight meditation, we call Vipassana. And I published that locally when I returned to Yangon and distributed well. And the second book was written in Brunei when I was there with our second daughter. That was a translation from a famous book, which I called Practical Aspects of Buddhist Ideals, which was self-published by Author House, UK, distributed through them as well as on the Amazon. I'm
going to have a look for it. I'm going to have a look at Amazon and see if I can find it.
Yeah. If you you could find my name, Maung Nyi, and that practical aspects of Buddhist ideals. You can find it easy. Or if you like, I'll send you a book by post from Yangon.
But I'll try and find it. But you've written another book too, haven't you? You've written one more book on Buddhism.
Yeah. There was another book called, that was written very late, called What is Buddhism? A Philosophy or a Religion? With a question mark.
What's your answer?
You see, there are a lot of people on the Facebook who do not understand Buddhism and talk much about it, and I was frustrated with them. That gave me the idea of writing that book.
No, it's fantastic what you've done. An amazing life. And you're now 85. You've just turned 85.
Yeah.
And other than your hearing, you're very well, aren't you?
I'm okay. I'm quite healthy. Besides, some knee joints don't give me much trouble, but I had one knee totally replaced, implanted. And now the other knee is giving me trouble, but I'm okay. I can walk without the help of a stick.
You look from your photo, you look nowhere near 85. The photo you've sent me, which I'll put on the website. You look much, much younger.
Thank you.
But bringing it back to you, David, you and your wife must be immensely proud of your 4 children and what they've achieved. You must be very proud.
I'm proud of my wife, very grateful to her. I'm very proud of my children, our children, and they are nice kids and good to their parents.
And I'm sure they must be proud of the position that you've taken during your life. Yeah,
that too, but I don't want to say too much about it because, all that my family had suffered and taken up hardships is on account of that single decision of mine. So I couldn't say I'm too proud of myself. You get that, Peter?
I understand what you're saying, but I'm sure they are. That you're a man of principle.
I'm proud of my wife, very grateful to her, and I'm very proud of my kids, who are now actually without a complaint.
Right.
They're very nice and they're good to us.
So, David,
my wife is pension. I'm on pension. We can kind of feed ourselves, but then these comforts like coming to Singapore, visiting Brunei, and visiting America, that is our luxury supplied and affordable by our children.
4 children.
Yeah, our 4 children.
So David, let me thank you and for a wonderful interview. And I'll stop recording, but I'll still keep talking to you for a few minutes after that. Okay, so I'll stop the recording.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. And it is a pleasure to work to you, and only hope that my accent was good enough for your audience to listen to. Thank you.
I'm sure it will be. I'll turn off the recording now.